By the way, I'm loving
You're live on Facebook. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Suzanne. Happy Friday, everyone.
Yes.
Welcome to the Seeds Storyteller Series with my soul sister, Suzanne, who I have been looking forward to talking to. We were just saying it's been way too long since we've seen each other in the flesh, but this is pretty dang awesome. So I'll take it. So as I share this to my Seeds page, Suzanne's going to chat with you guys about what you guys are up to on this Friday, and then I'm going to do the same while she shares it to her page. So go for it, Suzanne.
Yes, you guys. First of all, as Sarah said, happy Friday. I would love to know what exciting things you guys are going to be doing this weekend. Here in Colorado, the weather is changing. We are entering spring. The sun is shining. And I don't know about you guys, but I got out for a really nice walk in the woods today. So I would just love to hear where everyone's tuning in from, and I would also love to know what people are going to be up to this weekend.
Yeah. All right. And for me, if you want to share to your pages, Suzanne, I'll chat for a minute.
Yeah.
For us in our time zone, we're in Denver, Colorado, and it's the end of a work week for many of us. My kids just started spring break as of 2 p.m. today. It's almost happy hour or chai hour, tea hour. So what are you looking forward to doing tonight? Share with us. And for me, my kids are in that like basking in the joy of spring break, and it's reminding me of that moment for me as a kid. And it's fun to relive that. So welcome. For those of you that just joined, this is the Seeds Storyteller Series. My name is Sarah Davison-Tracy, and I'm here with my dear friend, Suzanne. Thank you for joining, sister. Okay, so just a little bit of what this is for those of you who are brand new to me or brand new to Suzanne. What this is a conversation that I am so honored and so ecstatic to have with people that I love, that are doing amazing work in the world, that are lighting up the world with a message, with a presence, with many wonderful things for us to all be a part of. And I got this idea because I happen to be one of those people that is so blessed with such infinitely rich and expansive connections. I just thought it would be really fun to be able to create a rhythm of sharing them with each other. So for those of you in Suzanne's tribe that I am new to, it's good to meet you guys. For those of you in the Seeds of Exchange or Sarah DT tribe, I'm so glad to introduce my friend to you. And we want to make one thing really clear about this. Yes, this is a conversation between Suzanne and I. We aren't going to be commenting back on your comments during the live, but you count on it. We will be doing it after. So please like, emoji, say what you agree with, what you don't agree with, what you question, what you want to hear more about, both in the live and the replay, because we'll be following this thread. But one thing that this is not, please, we want this is not like a sit back and listen to an amazing woman, Suzanne, share her story. This is, we hope for you to be leaning in and we have this kind of mantra of finding our stories and the stories of each other. So as she says something that makes you feel excited, makes you have tears in your eyes, makes you feel longing, makes you feel uncomfortable, makes you feel afraid, whatever the things are, pay attention. We kind of talk about it being like a treasure hunt. And the treasure hunt sometimes is exciting and feels good, and sometimes it's a little scary. So whatever it is, there's some gold there. Pay attention to it. Go with it. Lean in. And please stay looped in and connected with us on the live and then in the days to come, because that's what we believe makes life pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. So we're going to start, as we always do, with what I call in my world a place of pause. which is just a time to catch your breath. And I'm going to read the moments, the be still moment in my book, Soulfully Ablaze. And then Suzanne's going to take us through like a moment to catch our breath. So even if you're driving, if you're in the grocery line, if you're picking up your kids from carpool, if you're wrapping up your work day, whatever it is, we invite you to just take a moment and just be. So be still, surrender. Here we are at a place of pause, at a place of being. No need to do or think about one thing. No to-dos. No need to resolve anything in the past or the future. Set aside anything other than just being, breathing, and opening.
So I want to invite everyone to just put one hand on your heart and just take a moment and close your eyes if you can. Obviously, if you're driving, please do not do that. But I want you to begin to get in touch with the natural rhythm of your breath. So just notice how you're breathing. And then your next breath, I want you to begin to become very conscious and aware of your breath. So begin to breathe in on a count of 4. So that you're making your breath very deliberate, very intentional. And I just want you to experience on your out breath what it's like to truly surrender. So just allowing everything that's within you that is not serving your highest and greatest good, let it just be breathed out through the bottom of your feet, down into the floor, out into the planet and Mother Earth, so that it can be transformed and transmuted. And on your next inhale, I want you to imagine breathing in as much life force energy as you might need in this moment. Breathe it all the way in through the bottom of your feet, up through all of your chakras, and then up through the top of your head, connecting you to the ethers. And just noticing what it's like to breathe out, what is not serving you, and breathe in a new transformative vibration, one of healing, one of alignment, one of connectedness, and one of knowing. And that right now in this moment, you have everything you need, no matter what you're experiencing, no matter what you're going through, you have everything you need, and more will be revealed. And take one more deep breath. And let it go. And collectively, we can all open our eyes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was a gift. You are a gift. Thank you. Okay, y'all, we're going to dive in. And I am going to share one of my favorite people on the planet with y'all. And just to give you, for those of you who she is brand new to, we're going to hear a lot of her backstory, but I just thought sometimes it's nice to know just a quick, like, who is this person and what is she up to? So this is that. So my sister Suzanne's why and purpose in life is to provide opportunities, tools, and resources for conscious leaders to amplify what they do and to live more meaningful lives. And I love this. One of her jams or mantras is this: you need to go deeper if you want to go higher. So this is one of those conversations. Expect some juice and some joy, but one of her superpowers is inviting us to go deeper, to fly and to sail and to do those things that we're meant to do. So will you give us a bit of, before we get into the what, the amazing long list of what's, which we will not tackle in our half hour that we have together, but can you tell us the why of you? Like, what is it that makes you do the work of healing in the world that you do?
Yeah, well, the biggest piece is that the only way to get to true internal freedom is through integration of both dark and light. And so one of the things that I've seen many, many times is that life is always happening. There's always challenges, there's always joys and triumphs. But what often happens for most of us is that we spend a lifetime running from avoiding, denying, rejecting, numbing all of the pieces of ourselves that are either uncomfortable, or they feel painful, or they feel intolerable, or we want to not look at, we don't want to see because it might bring up all kinds of stuff. And if we don't turn and face that, then we spend a lifetime of what I call circling the edge, where we're just circling, we're circling, we're circling. And what I've come to realize is that the fear in our mind is usually far greater than what we're afraid of experiencing. And if we actually allowed ourselves to experience it, we would see that not only, it's like facing the boogeyman in the closet, like the boogeyman's not quite as big when we turn and face it, but in our mind, it could be this massive, huge thing. So one of the things that I am very passionate about is that to get to wholeness, to get to freedom, to get to a place of alignment, to get to a place of flow, it really means about integration of both dark and light. And they're both equally important because there's a lot of wisdom in the darkness, and it allows us to sustain ourselves in the light. So they're both, to me, very important. And I think one of the things that we have done as a disservice, and we're starting to see it collectively in the world, that the more we numb, the more we reject, the more we deny, the more it gets projected out. And the more separation we see, the more pain we see, the more suffering we see. And that's the antithesis of what we really want. And I always say to people that what you want to see out there, you need to experience in here.
Right.
Because your internal landscape is going to be reflected in your external experience.
Okay, so
go ahead.
I'm so glad that I have this recorded. I say this so often because it's like I want to break it down and hit pause after every couple sentences. But let's peel back the curtain a minute and share with me and our peeps that are watching. What's just a recent, like this week, something that you, to explain how this works in your life, a way that you've had to sit with the dark or sit with the dark to get to the light. Or can you tell us a story?
Absolutely. So as you were saying at the beginning of the call, that when we're being called higher, we're also being called deeper, which I have seen that universal with every single person I've ever worked with. And in probably the last year and a half of my life, I have been growing and expanding my vision, my mission, my business in all kinds of ways. And what I'm realizing is that when I push those edges of my comfort zone, I start to go into this place of fear and this place of overwhelm. And I start to think about the level of responsibility, and my storyteller starts going, can I really handle this? Is this really what I want? Am I creating what I really want to see in the world? And so I woke up yesterday in a little bit of a state of panic, and I started feeling this really overwhelming sense of fear. And historically, go back maybe 10, 15 years ago, my go-to would be to find something to distract myself. What can I do to distract? And because I wouldn't have wanted to sit with it, feel it, acknowledge it. And so what I did was I took my overwhelm for a walk. And I took my fear for a walk. And I asked, what is this showing me? What is this teaching me? What does this want me to know? and how much of this is based on what is true and real, and how much of this is based on a story that I am creating because I'm reaching an upper limits where I'm having to move out of what feels comfortable for me. And what happens miraculously when you do that is things that you need to see and hear start to show up. So I got a beautiful letter in the mail from someone who spoke at WalkFest, this woman, Barbara Brown Taylor, who's a New York Times bestseller. She's been on Oprah. She's this amazing woman. I call her, she's like my doting grandma and soul sister and wise sage all in one. She sent me this beautiful note. And one of the things that she said in the note was that her heart was broken for what I was experiencing with the loss of my dog, which, you know, many people know that my dog has been, you know, my greatest teacher in the world. And she also said that she really was in awe of some of the courageous things that I'm willing to do in the world, and that I'm committed to not allowing my fear or my overwhelm, literally those words, to take me out. And so it was exactly what I needed to hear. And that's the beautiful gift, that if we just slow down long enough and we actually look at the things that we find people can say that they're negative or aspects of ourselves that we don't like, if we actually look at those things, they're not there to punish us. They're not there to like torture us. They're really there because there's something that you need to pay attention to. There's something that needs to be shifted. And it might be as simple as the story in your mind, or it might be something like a new level, like I said, as we go deeper, is to go higher. It's a new level of healing. It's a new level of integration. And so once that happened, by the time I hit the afternoon, I just felt it completely transform.
Wow.
And I was no longer overwhelmed. I was no longer afraid. And I actually woke up today and I had this incredibly productive, creative morning. But a lot of that had to do with the fact that I was willing to sit with what I needed to sit with yesterday.
Yeah.
And not just dismiss it.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Thank you.
And that happens on a fairly regular basis.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, will you share with our peeps what it is that you're up to? What are you doing? I would love personally to hear more about the Wilderness Walk, what's cooking with WalkFest, and any other things in your world that would be fun ways to be able to experience you and invite people to join in on what you're up to.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. As I said, this past year and a half has been a huge year of expansion for me. And for those of you who are familiar with upper limits, and for those of you who know what it's like to grow and expand, especially if it happens at a rapid pace, that if your container, meaning you, doesn't expand along with it, then usually we end up going into sabotage, or we end up getting a wake-up call, or we end up having something that will happen in our life. You know, it could be a whisper, it could be, you know, a yell, or it could be a 2x4, whatever it is. But so last year, that was big for me. And I, for those of you who know about WalkFest, I did a big live event in September with, you know, 240 people, and had incredible speakers. It was an incredible experience. But the 6 months, or I should say 4 months prior to that event, I was moving at such warp speed that by the time that event happened, it was like, and I know people will relate to this, but we teach what we need to learn, right? Mm-hmm. So here I am building a collective that really is about doing the inner work so that we can stand up more fully in our missions, that we can amplify what we're called to do in the world. And I was having to face everything within me that was not in alignment with that.
Right.
So there was all kinds of stuff going on, and we could have an hour just talking about that. But what happened through that experience was I got radically clear. And I got radically clear about what I want. I got radically clear about what I don't want. And one of the things that I came back to, the why that you were talking about, what I came back to was the biggest thing for me is how can I hold space in whatever area of my life, through Global Healing Collective, through the Wilderness Walk, how can I hold space for people to do that deeper inner work so that they can stand up more fully?
Yeah.
When I say fully, I mean in a very holistic way, more fully in what they're called to do. And so what I'm really excited about right now is in about 3 months' time, I'm going to be heading to Alaska. I'm going to be doing my next wilderness walk that starts the end of May, and we go to Alaska at the end of July. And there's something that happens when you see somebody enter a journey on day one, and you see what happens to them when they leave the journey, on day 60 something. They're not the same people. It's just, and it's incredible what can happen in 8.5 weeks. And that to me is my greatest passion. I believe that we're all called to go on a wilderness walk. And whether it's through my journeys or whether it's through whatever experience you have, because we are born with an internal wilderness, and we have to go through life navigating that and all the elements of that, both shadow, dark, light, everything. So I'm growing the wilderness walk in beautiful ways, and there's so many things that are going to be coming down the pike, including I'm writing a book, and I'm going to be building all different types of other types of journeys. And then also Global Healing Collective just did their first local collective in Denver a week ago, and we had over 60 amazing people who came to that. And I'm just excited to see where all of this is going to grow and expand. And I feel like I'm just along for the ride, along with everyone else. So I love that. I love just being able to be a part of that. And with everything that I create, I grow.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the beauty of creation and the beauty of bringing whatever it is that we bring to the world, because it's going to help us evolve.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm up to. I mean,
so tell us about the Global Healing Collective and what your passion is for that, and how people, when they hear you say something you're about to say, how do they join and be a part of what you're up to? Oh, speaking of, we have just tons of links and ways to stay connected in the write-up, with websites and just ways you can go down the Suzanne vortex of Global Healing Collective, and the Wilderness Walk link is in there. But in terms of the story part of it, tell us about Global Healing Collective and your passion to create this movement and community.
So the real Reader's Digest version.
Yeah, I know.
Basically, I've been doing the Wilderness Walk now for quite a while. And through that journey, a lot of the people who gravitate towards my work are leaders, coaches, healers, visionaries, a lot of really amazing people. And what I was seeing across the board was that there was this calling and need for them to be supported in growing whatever that they were growing, but not just professionally, also personally. And one of the things that I had noticed is I've been parts of many masterminds and many organizations, and usually there's like 80%, 90% focus on business, and like 5-10% that's focused on the self. And what I saw was that's way out of balance, because we are our work, we are our visions, we are that. And so I was seeing high levels of burnout. I was seeing a lot of people suffering with chronic illnesses, high rates of relationship issues and divorces, a lot of depression and anxiety. And I got the benefit of working with the YPO, the Young Presidents Organization, about a year ago. And even at that level of success, and these are highly, highly successful people, I was seeing the same things that was happening on people who were, just starting. The only difference was that their world was so insular, because the bigger you evolve, the more visible you become, the more you struggle with, having, trusting, knowing who to trust, knowing who you want in your inner circle. But the issues were very universal. And what I started saying to myself is, we need to create places where people can have the deeper conversations. We can support each other in more raw and vulnerable ways, where we can have collective impact, that we can bring together ways that we can have strength in numbers and amplify what people are wanting to do. The number one pain point for people in the entrepreneurial world is loneliness and isolation. Because we all feel like we're climbing that mountain alone. And there's so many people climbing the same freaking mountain.
Right.
We feel like we're all climbing that mountain alone. And we have all these like silos of people who are doing amazing things in the world. And yet, if you ask anybody, there's a level of, overwhelm, or sometimes there's a feeling of defeat. And there, if you think about this is what gave me goosebumps. But if you think about how many incredible visions in the world that never come to fruition. Because there's this intense fear within the person who's being called to create it. And they don't have the resources or the support. And so after maybe a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, those visions begin to just dissipate. And I feel like right now, with what's going on in our planet, we can't let that happen. We can't let it happen. There's too much work to do. And there's no competition, because we need everybody's hands and feet to do this work. So I don't care how many coaches there are, how many there are, how many entrepreneurs there are, or whatever it is. We need you. That's all I'm going to say about that. We need as many people on the forefront who want to create change and who want to bring forth impact.
So how can people join? What's the Reader's Digest on how people can join the community, the movement with you guys?
It's simple. We have a community Facebook page. We just started the Colorado Collective, so people locally in Colorado can join. There's a whole separate collective from them. There's going to be quarterly events. Our goal is to begin to create collectives all over the country and all over the world. And, we're still in the infancy stage of bringing that forward. But I will tell you, just based on what I saw at the event last week, people are hungry. They're hungry because nobody wants to do this alone, and nobody wants to feel alone. So so people can join those communities. There's a Facebook page. They can follow us on social media. They can go to the website. There's more information there. Same with the Wilderness Walk. There's tons of information there. There's going to be upcoming journeys that people can get on. Follow me on social media with that as well. So anywhere you go, you can get information.
Okay. I'm going to take the bit you were just talking about going it alone, and loop it back to the folks that are watching. Because one of Suzanne and my hopes, and actually a prayer and a blessing she spoke over this conversation before we even hopped into the live, was just believing that if you are on the live or the replay or the YouTube, however you are watching right now, or in 5 years, it is destiny there is something for you in that moment and in that accident, if it was an accident that you stumbled upon it. And we want to plant that seed for you, each person, to take a moment and whether you've caught a minute or the whole 30 minutes of this conversation, to think about, what is it that you think you were destined for in this conversation? What did you feel? What is it? What is pulsing in you, or what longings were stoked in you? What do you want to commit to? And please choose one thing. We would love for you to comment and share with in the comments of the live. If it's too intimate, please private message one of us, whichever tribe you came to this conversation from. And we really want to acknowledge that we get, amidst the hope that we have and the joy that we have, we know that life is really hard for a lot of people. And if that is you, please private message us and share your heartbeat, your prayer, your heartbreak, what you need, how we can support you, because I don't think it matters whether we're in the depths of despair or on the top of the mountain. We need each other. And that isolation that Suzanne is talking about is a death blow to both. It's a death blow to the highs and the lows. So,
and can I add something to that?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because I feel really strongly about this. It's like, people don't understand the power of being witnessed.
Yes, thank you.
It's a big piece of my work. And this is one of the things that I love about you, Sarah. And I want to really have people understand this, people who know you and don't know you. But one of the amazing things that you do as a human being is you really see people and you really hear people. And that's a gift, because not everybody can do that in the ways that I know that you can. But I want people who are listening right now to know that there is a power of being witnessed, that I can guarantee that no matter what you're feeling, sensing, whether it's within your work or within your personal life, because usually those are very interconnected, because there's no such thing as compartmentalization, much as we try, is that whatever you're experiencing, somebody else is experiencing it. Yeah. And I always say, my teacher, Jan Van Zandt, used to say to me, if it's in the chair, it's in the room. So if it's in the chair, it's in this room. So I know that everything I'm feeling and everything that Sarah's feeling, somebody out there is feeling it too. And so please, I just love when people are courageous enough to say whatever it is for them. And like Sarah said, whether it's privately or collectively, it's so great to do that, because that's how we heal. That's how we heal, both individually and collectively. So,
well, and for me, in that, there are, countless, thousands upon thousands of times where I have gotten the aha, or the light has gone on in my life because someone said something that I was witnessing, that they gave words to something that I didn't yet have, or just had that incredible gift of not going life alone and realizing, oh my gosh, me too, me too. So that is, that is the reason, y'all, that we're asking you to join the conversation, because there is an incredible gift and calling for us to speak, for us to voice, for us to be bold and vulnerable and keep it real about whatever the dreams are and the hurts are and the and everything in between.
And I would also, I just want to add, because there's so much juiciness.
I know.
There's one other thing I would add to that too, which is, very often we try to judge somebody's outside, insides by their outsides.
Yep.
And I will tell you that I have seen some of the most beautiful, successful people in the world, and you would be amazed at what's going on the inside. And I think we just have to really get beyond that and really look at each other more soul to soul, heart to heart, and not, by what people do or post on Facebook or who they're married to or whatever the case may be, because I will tell you, this is universal. This isn't just because some people are experiencing this. We are all experiencing it. Love is universal and pain is universal. So,
yeah. So y'all, before we're just a couple minutes from wrapping up, but again, the nudge, please share something that is pulsing in your heart right now, a commitment, an emotion, a longing, a dream, whatever it is, share it. And then the second invitation is to share it with someone you trust, like a live person that's you're having coffee with tonight or going out to dinner with or spending a walk with this weekend. Because the reason that we're nudging that is because that's part of what brings the inspiration into the world, and we get to practice it and we get to work it out and we get to have people, the witnessing part that Suzanne was talking about, we get to remind each other like, hey, do you remember when you were talking about that? So that the thing that Suzanne was saying about sometimes the dreams collapse or the visions get foggy, because we need to be reminders and torchbearers for each other. So that's the other piece of that. So before we wrap up, I would love to ask you, my dear sister, one last burning seed that you want to plant, or what's in your heart to share before we
I
wrap.
think if there was one thing that I could scream from a mountaintop, is that, what we talked about earlier, that if we want to go higher, we need to go deeper. And that the only way to freedom is the integration of dark and light. And to know that there's nothing to fear because we're all just walking each other home.
Wow.
That's it. We're just walking each other home.
Well, that gave me goosebumps for like the 10th time. Thank you for joining. Y'all, thank you for watching, for witnessing, for being a part of the conversation with us. And man, for me, if I were to scream one thing from the mountaintops, it's a few things, but it's one thing at the heartbeat. It's that you're loved, that you belong here, that we belong to each other, and let's stand tall together and light up the world. So we love you guys.
Yeah.
Blessings on your evening or morning if you're coming to us from halfway around the world. And please, let's stay connected and follow the ripples of this conversation as far as they'll take us.
Yes.
Thanks, Suzanne, for joining. I love you, sister.
Love you too.